What's up? You found yourselves locked on Bulls. I'm Matt. That's Big Dave. Up ahead on today's program, power rankings in the NBA. We've got a couple of different ones, NBA.com and ESPN. The Bulls, top 10 in both. We'll talk about that, as well as a few other interesting things being said by retired players and NBA analysts about the Bulls on some national NBA talk shows over the past week as the Bulls swept the LA teams. And we'll wrap up the show with a look ahead at tonight's matchup against Damian Lillard and the Portland Trailblazers. That's all next on a fresh Locked On Bulls. Let's go.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily podcast on the Chicago Bulls, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Here are your hosts, Matt Peck and Big Dave Watson.
What's up, and welcome into Locked On Bulls, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Matt Peck. You can follow me on Twitter at Bulls_Peck. You can follow my co-host Big Dave at Bow. You can follow us at Locked On Bulls. Shoot us a text or drop us a voicemail at 331-979-1369. Today's episode of Locked On Bulls is brought to you in part by Calm. For a limited time, our Locked On Bulls listeners can get a 40% discount off a premium subscription. Go to calm.com/LockedOnNBA. And we thank you for making Locked On Bulls your first listen of the day. Big Dave, Wednesday, middle of the week, middle of the road trip. Bulls come into Portland tonight, 2-1 in the first three games. Man, I know it's another late night tip, 9 p.m. Central Time. But I feel like because it's the last late night tip of this game of this road trip, I'm going to be like, okay, I'm ready for it. And you're coming off of two pretty impressive wins against the Clippers and the Lakers.
That's very, very true, Matt. We're Midwestern people. So 9 o'clock when stuff starts, we're like, what the hell?
Right.
that's how a lot of people feel. I'm a night person, so I'm usually up anyway. But I understand how people feel. You know what I'm saying about this, man? That's pretty late. Like, just imagine if you're out there on the West Coast and stuff started at 9 p.m. for you. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
you'd be feeling the same kind of way. So, yeah, I understand why people feel that way. But you're right, Matt. The fact that it's the last one, it's the final time, guys. Like, this is the one. Like, this is it. You want to go out strong. I'm sure you got your proper stay awake stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, keeping up, and you put the kids to bed at a proper time. You make sure nobody's going to disturb you. You're ready to watch this game because you know this is it. And you're going to give it your all, man. So it's going to be fun.
And look, I'm with you. I'm usually a night person myself. I'll be up until somewhere after midnight anyway. But like, I've been fighting a cold for the past week, so these 9 and 9:30 tip-offs, I was like, I just want to get in bed with a book. Like, don't make me watch it. But you know what's good is that like when we were doing Outsiders, and had to be at the studio until 12:31 in the morning on some of those nights.
Yeah,
it was doing Bulls coverage after the Bulls lost by 30 on the West Coast.
Yes.
And now it's like, oh no, this team is worth staying up for. Which is a nice change of pace.
I thought about that watching the post game with Jason, Kendall, and Will, and I'm like, yeah, they're extra alert. You know what I'm saying? Because of the Bulls winning. Like, I remember how we felt, you know what I'm saying, watching those Bulls losses. So I'm sure they had those same feelings, you know what I'm saying, that when they're watching those Bulls losses, it puts a little more tiredness on you. You know what I'm saying? When you got to sit and talk about that. But
right.
Yeah, Bulls got us alert, man. Bulls are the proper smelling salts. Winning is great smelling salts. I promise you.
All right, so we'll talk about the Blazers matchup at the back end of the show. But first, Dave, we got to talk about these power rankings that have been dropped recently. And let's start with the NBA.com power rankings because they have the Bulls ranked higher than ESPN. Number 2. Behind only the team that handed the Bulls their ugliest loss of the season, that being the Golden State Warriors, who, oh, by the way, last night trounced the Nets in Brooklyn. Wow. Look, I know that the Bulls are starting to turn some heads when it comes to national NBA coverage with this 10-4 start that includes wins over impressive teams. The Nets, the Jazz, the Mavs, both of the LA teams. Can't say I saw number 2 in the power rankings coming, though, Dave. I mean, they are ranked ahead of the Nets, the Wizards, the Suns, the Heat, lots of teams that some people might say, yeah, the Bulls are good, but I'm not putting them ahead of those kinds of teams yet.
Yeah, and these came out before the Lakers game. You know what I'm saying? Like this came out before all that occurred. I tweeted immediately. I said, I'm a little surprised. I was a little surprised by this, that the Bulls were number 2. I'm with it. I like it. I think it's great that we're getting that kind of recognition. But I was definitely surprised by that, Matt. But it also makes me happy that the league, at least at NBA.com, are actually looking at the Bulls like, wait a minute, guys, like these guys are this good. You know, you're top 10 in offense and top 10 in defense. You know, that's only 3 teams like that, you know, and that's the Bulls, Miami Heat, and the Golden State Warriors. So if you look at those power rankings, that's pretty much what that is. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, I was a little surprised by that, though. And I thought Washington would get a little more love because of that. But yeah, I'll take it, man. I'm not mad. It was just surprising. It was just like, wow, really? Okay, cool. All right.
Right. Because a month ago, you know, when we were on the precipice of this new season, nobody had seen the Bulls yet other than some preseason games. And everybody says, yeah, preseason's preseason. You know, the Bulls 4-0 preseason record didn't mean anything to people. To most people, the Bulls came in, I believe, 19th, the ESPN power rankings, 19th. And like, you know, not even a top 8 team in the East. And so we were sitting here a month ago being like, well, can't say I'm surprised by that lack of respect because you got to show people first. Well,
gotta earn it, yeah.
We're almost at this is game 15 on deck tonight. 15 of 82, a large enough sample size, some difficult quality of competition, a difficult road trip, and the Bulls are 10-4. People are maybe being like, oh, okay, so yeah, preseason doesn't mean anything. Don't give a team any credit before they show you anything in the regular season. The Bulls are 10-4. I don't think many people expected the Bulls to be 10-4. Honestly, I didn't expect the Bulls to be 10-4.
No, I don't think any of us did. I expect them to be good, and I expect them to have a solid record. But I would be lying if I said 10-4 was what I was.
I mean, you expect some losses to come with growing pains, right? But the Bulls are proving that they can win while they are going through these growing pains with a brand new roster.
And not even just growing pains, Matt, growing pains and injuries. Like you're dealing with the loss of your power forward. You're dealing with the loss of your all-star center, who you can argue is your most important player because of the depth that you have behind him and how important he is to your offense. So you're dealing with the loss of those 2 guys, and then you were going in to play Golden State, the Clippers, and the Lakers. You know what I'm saying? With all that loss on top of you. And so, no, nobody was sitting here like, yeah, I think the Bulls are going to pull out a 2-1 on those guys. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure a lot of people didn't feel that way. Like we talked about it about the Lakers, Matt, how you felt, and a lot of other people felt Anthony Davis was like, yeah, he might drop 40 on us tonight. You know what I'm saying? Because of not having Vucevic. That's not illogical. That's not an illogical thought. You're looking at the situation and making that assessment. So for the Bulls to continue to keep proving people wrong and then proving us happy is a beautiful thing. But number 2, I mean, man, okay, let's roll. I'll take it. I will take it. All right. I am with it.
I mean, Phoenix kind of stumbled out of the gate a little bit, but now I think they're like 9-3 or something like Phoenix is playing well. That team went to the NBA Finals last year. Miami Heat is another interesting one that for all of the fanfare and all of the praise that Pat Riley got for getting Kyrie or I'm sorry, for getting Kyle Lowry this offseason, simultaneously people being like, oh, DeMar, overpaid, overaged, washed. What? You and I sat here, we were like, you know, okay, yeah. Does Kyle Lowry make the Heat better? Is Kyle Lowry an upgrade over Goran Dragic? Like, yeah, I guess. But dude, have you seen Kyle Lowry's numbers this season? Like he's slinging some dimes, but like he's had like goose eggs or next to goose eggs in the points column a lot. And like, look, I'm not counting Miami out. Right?
No.
People are assuming that like, okay, once Milwaukee gets their players back, like they're still missing Brook Lopez, they're still missing, you know, all sorts of key pieces. Yeah. Once Giannis gets his squad back, people expect the Bucks to just kind of vault up the standings, and that certainly might happen.
Sure.
Brooklyn, I still don't know. And like, I want to touch on something that Steve Nash said. He said when he was, getting interviewed prior to this Nets Warriors game about teams that they've lost to, Warriors, Heat, Bulls, Bucks. He said, quote, "We're not in that tier yet."
That's
So,
something to say. That's something to say,
but see,
man.
that's one of those things where, like, I don't want to put the cart before the horse as a Bulls fan and be like, yeah, Nets, like, get in our tier, like looking down on Kevin Durant and James Harden. That's foolish to do.
I agree with you. He's not lying as far as what he's saying, as far as what he's looking at and the Bulls have done. But I'm with you, Matt. Like, I'm like, yeah, all right, thanks, but just leave us alone. Leave us alone right now, dog. Don't put us in that right now. Put that on somebody else. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, if we're gonna be good, this is kind of the stuff that comes with it. Teams are gonna be like, no, these guys are good. Like, and we're like, yeah, thanks for telling us we're good, but leave us alone. Like, let us continue doing things. This is new to us. We haven't seen this in years, so that's why we're kind of handling it with delicate hands. And we're like, I don't know, man. Let's pump the brakes, as Will Perdue likes to say, and let's see what happens and stuff like that. And we get hyped at the end of games. You know what I'm saying? As you saw us do after that Lakers game. That's when we get excited. That's when the hype comes. But to hear that being said, Matt, it's like, yay! You know what I mean? Man.
Yeah. It's when you see a player take a bad shot, you're like, no, and then he makes it, and you're like, yeah,
all along. Yes.
All right. I also want to talk about the ESPN power rankings, because there's a team ranked ahead of the Bulls in that power ranking that I like. We haven't really talked about that much. I want to talk about, and that's the Washington Wizards. Let's talk about that for a second. Before we do that, though, I gotta pitch some products to y'all. When it comes to athletes, Big Dave, we tend to focus on physical fitness, but there's another side to the game that's just as important. It's mental fitness. Calm, the #1 app for sleep and meditation, has teamed up with LeBron James to help you train your mind and become the champion version of yourself. And I bet LeBron, after watching his teammates get their faces stomped by the Bulls on Monday, could really use some help calming himself, zenning out a little bit, because he's probably stressed out. LeBron and Calm know that your mind is like any other muscle in your body, but you don't have to be a world champion to learn how to train it. Calm can help you train your brain so you sleep better, reduce your stress, and perform at your best, just like LeBron. For LeBron, sleep is a critical part of his mental fitness routine. He says, getting good sleep and finding time to rest is one of the most valuable things I can do for my body and mind. From the sound of rain falling on leaves to bedtime sleep stories to neuralizing myself and forgetting that Bulls-Lakers game ever happened, Calm puts me to sleep within minutes, which means I wake up ready for any challenge. So if you go to calm.com/LockedOnNBA for a limited time, you'll get 40% off a Calm premium subscription. With Calm, you have access to the nature scenes like rains falling on leaves, so much more, sleep stories, meditations, so you can be ready for any challenges that life throws your way, like getting blown out by the Bulls. Again, for a limited time, our listeners can join LeBron in using Calm and get a 40% discount on a Calm premium subscription at calm.com/LockedOnNBA. Unlock content to help you focus, ease stress, and sleep better. Get started at calm.com/LockedOnNBA. That's calm.com/LockedOnNBA. LeBron, shh, it's gonna be okay. Get calm.
That dude is a fool, man. Let me tell y'all, listen, after you've calmed yourself, after you've relaxed, guess what's one thing you're gonna be? You'll probably be a little bit hungry. But after all that calmness, you don't want to put nothing heavy on you. You don't want to put nothing bad in you, but you also want to put stuff in you that tastes good. Well, I got something perfect for you. And you know what it is? It's the Zach Guilford approved Built Bar, baby. Get down with the Built Bar. And you know why it's delicious? Because it's covered in 100% real chocolate. It is low calorie. It is low carb. It is low fat. And it's high protein. And it is high taste. All right. And guess what, guys? Like, it's that Thanksgiving time. It's that time where you walk downstairs in your favorite sweatpants because you're about to act a fool at that dinner table. But you got your loved ones looking at you saying, we don't want you to act too much of a fool because we want you around for the long haul. Well, guess what? You can replace some of those things, some of those treats with an even better treat at Built Bar. That is, like we just told you, has only 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, and plenty of protein. Oh, and also, Matt, do me a favor. That flavor of the month. Can you please elaborate to people on what that flavor of the month is for Built Bar this month, sir?
Coconut brownie chunk. It's like little balls, little crumble balls of brownie on top of the Built Bar. It's freaking delicious.
So on top of the chocolate, we're going to put some brownie on top of that. Yeah, I think you're going to like that and enjoy that. And on top of that, it's going to be new surprises all month long, along with those limited time flavors, guys. They're going to do it right. All right. So make sure you check out built.com. So go to built.com, use that promo code LOCK15, and you'll get 15% off of your order. That's promo code LOCK15 for 15% off your order at built.com. Built Bar! Get Zach Gelford some.
All right, let's move now to the ESPN Power Rankings. They drop a fresh Power Rankings every Monday throughout the NBA season. And the Bulls climbed from last week's Power Rankings, where they sat at 9, up to number 7 in this week's Power Rankings. The teams ahead of them, Miami 6, Denver 5, see them on Friday, Washington 4, Suns 3, Nets 2, and of course, Warriors 1. Big Dave, of those 6 teams ahead of the Bulls, any of them that you might take issue with, or any that you confidently say, yeah, that team's better than the Bulls?
Okay, so run those down to me again, man. We got Golden State obviously at 1. We're going Phoenix
Golden
at
State,
2.
No, Brooklyn at 2.
Brooklyn at 2. I'm okay with that.
Phoenix at 3.
They won 9 straight. Like, what do you want me to do? All right.
Wizards at 4.
I mean, they're number 1. They're number 1. I wouldn't have them at 4
in the East right now,
but they're number 1 in the East. Like, okay.
Denver 5.
Okay.
Start of the week 9-4.
Okay,
reigning
fair
MVP.
enough. Reigning MVP. They're like what, 4th seed though? But all right, go ahead. Yeah.
And Jimmy and the Heat at 6.
And that's where I take exception. That's the exception I take right there. Strictly, and I'm not saying because the Heat are trash, because the Heat are ridiculously good. And that's honestly the game I can't wait to watch. That's the game I'm looking at, Bulls fan, is when we play the Heat, because the Heat are serious. The Heat are legit. But right now, the Chicago Bulls, a little bit better, is what I'm just telling you. Just right now, at this point in time, they're a little bit better because of the teams they've beaten. I know that you know who the Clippers beat. The Clippers beat the Miami Heat. No, the Clippers didn't beat the Chicago Bulls. Like the Bulls came in there and did their thing, and then they went to LA and beat the Los Angeles Lakers. Like, so when you do stuff like that, you don't drop to 7. You don't come in as a number 7 team when you do stuff like that. When you're 6-3 in a 9-game stretch, when people say you were about to get creamed and destroyed by a lot of West Coast teams, I don't feel that makes you a number 7 team. So I would move Miami down, and I wouldn't be mad at moving Denver down. I think the Bulls are legitimately top 5. Honestly, man, I really do. I think they're legitimately a top 5 power ranked team. Like I said, 2 was surprising to me, but 7, man, come on. Like 7 is like, I don't know, guys. Like 7 is a little bit low. You know what I'm saying? It's a little bit low right there.
I'm still just like, wait, do I need to make an eye appointment just because I see the Bulls in top 10 in several different power rankings? I'm not used to this yet, Dave. It doesn't make sense. Right. I think we're being punked by somebody. Is Ashton Kutcher sitting on the other side of my window? Hello, Ashton Kutcher. Are you out there? Are there cameras in here that I don't know about? 7. I'm fine with that. And honestly, the thing that I was kind of thinking about coming into this season was, hey, if the Bulls stack some wins and, even, dealing with the loss of Patrick Williams and the absence of Kobe White up until, his return this week, and now the absence of Vooch, it's like, if you could get through all of that and work on building your offensive chemistry, figuring yourself out, committing yourself to your defense every night, stack up wins and do so against quality opponents while there are other flashier teams making headlines, I'm fine with that. Because, hey, the longer the Bulls can avoid a target on their backs, the better. And I think, was it our text thread with you, me, John, and our guy Bulldog, where you said that the Clippers and Lakers saw the Bulls get blown out by the Warriors on Friday and both kind of treated the Bulls like, yeah. Oh, the Bulls are better. Whatever. We'll handle them. No. But I kind of still want the Bulls to have that identity of like, oh, yeah, the Bulls are better, but we're not going to take them seriously. Because the longer you can be a under-the-radar threat, the better.
And also, to add to your point, Matt, it's also good to continue to give a team with a bunch of chips on their shoulders and more chips to put on their shoulders. So to have them there at number 7 and Bulls see that, just keep adding the chips to their shoulders, man. Like, because we heard Caruso talk about chips on his shoulders, and we heard DeMar DeRozan talk about those things, and we know Zach's got one for sure. So, and we know Lonzo's got one, for goodness sakes. So, keep adding them to that. So, to your point, man, I think you're correct in that assessment right there. Like, keep going under the radar, keep underestimating, keep thinking that this team isn't, good enough to be ranked in the top 5 right now. That's fine. And I agree with you on that, man. I don't disagree with you on that. I just think that they should be higher. I just really do. After what I've seen and what I've watched and the way they've done it with the injuries, with dealing with COVID, with losing Vucevic and still coming in and not just winning, but winning convincingly against some, top tier teams. I think that kind of puts you up, you know what I'm saying, in that top 5. But you're right. Like, keep doubting us. Keep rolling us under that rug right there, man. I'm okay with that. You're right, Matt. You're right.
And, meanwhile, you have, we mentioned the Steve Nash comments referring to the Bulls as a top tier team. I think Shaq on Inside the NBA on TNT the other day, referenced his love for this new Bulls team and how he believes in them being a serious contender in the East. Chuck said it was one of the best off seasons for any team in the NBA before the season even started. And then you also got like JJ Redick, recently retired player, host of the Old Man and the 3 podcast. Great listen, always has great guests, respected guy around the league. He was on the jump with Malik Andrews yesterday saying, right now, I've got DeMar number 3 in my MVP rankings behind Steph and Kevin Durant. So it's like, all right, maybe that chip shrinks a little bit if the Bulls start hearing this stuff and, puffing out their own chests a little bit. But I want to be like, no, guys, still plenty of haters out there who don't believe in you. Even if that's becoming less and less true, I want the Bulls to still feel like nobody believes in them.
And I think they'll feel that. And I think they're around the right people to continue to keep them humble and to continue to keep their minds on that kind of thing. Because Billy Donovan is a perfect coach for that kind of thing. He's never too high. He's never too low. He's always just even keeled right there. AK and Mark Eversley are definitely on that kind of level as well. So they're like, we ain't won nothing. We're here winning, and they don't, we're just out here trying to win and win stuff. So I'm happy that you're right, Matt. Like the fact that the Bulls in 2 rankings are in the top 10 is really amazing and excellent, especially as to where a lot of those same people had the Bulls being at when the season began. And again, we didn't understand why. I remember being on this show utterly confused as to why that occurred and was asking people to just please explain to me why you felt that way. So you're right. But like I said, man, they got the right people around them to keep them straightforward and focused, on the goal at hand, which is just to win the next game. And as Billy Donovan, man, he is perfect for these kind of situations. He's the same in a loss that he is in a win. He is the same person, man, when you listen to him in those press conferences and everything. So I like that about him. I like, AK and Eversley being at all these games, together, just sitting there watching it. These guys are humble, but these guys are hungry at the same time. And it's really showcasing. And real quick, Matt, because you pointed this out to me and now I can't not look at it. Alize Johnson on the bench is absolutely amazing. Matt pointed this out to me first and foremost. And now I can't stop watching him. Watch him during that Lakers game. That whole entire game, he was acting a plumb fool, man. It was great.
The one where DeMar hit that like stop, pivot, turnaround, fadeaway over AD in the lane.
Yes.
He laid down, like pretended to be dead.
Yes.
And I could not stop laughing at it. You know, that's just another example of this Bulls team really bonding and you know, what the players on the bench supporting whoever's out there on the floor. They're all, I think, enjoying playing with each other and cheering for each other right now, which is awesome. All right, we got to look ahead to this Bulls-Blazers matchup. Some interesting numbers for the Blazers out of the gate so far this season that we'll take a look at. But first, Dave, if you want to put some money on this Bulls-Blazers game, maybe a little same-game parlay, maybe the money line, maybe the spread. By the way, I had a 3-way parlay covering the spreads of all of the NBA games last night because, of course, I did. Where did I do it, Dave?
Well, Matt, you did it at the only place you should do it at, the only place you can do it at, and the only place you will do it at after you hear this ad read. And that is Bet Online, because they are back and better than ever with a brand new web interface for the start of the basketball season and more props, more odds, and more lines than ever before. Bet Online remains your number one spot for all your basketball and football action this season. Justin Fields on Sunday. Hello. Now head now to that new interface and that new website, man, that updated desktop and mobile website, and sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use that promo code Locked On to receive your bonus. That is Locked On to receive your bonus. Basketball, football, hockey, boxing, UFC, favorite Vegas casino games, tennis, don't matter. Don't wait, man. Take advantage. Take advantage of all the amazing offers available to you and yours on this 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and the easiest way to bet all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. Sports.
All right, Big Dave. Interesting numbers for the Blazers as a team that I want us to get to. But before that, I think if you're going to talk about the Blazers this season, you can't not start with this very uncharacteristically bad start that Damian Lillard has had to his season. You want to know his shooting numbers?
I do.
38.7% from the field and 27.9% from behind the three-point line on just over 9 attempts per game. The previous worst three-point percentage span a full season of Dame's career, you got to go back to 2014-15 when he shot 34.3% from behind the arc. He's shooting just under 28% on the calling card of his offensive repertoire. What do you make of this? I mean, Bulls fans are panicking about Vooch. And meanwhile, like, what must Blazers fans be thinking about Dame's start to the season?
I mean, I'm sure they're like, what the hell? Like, like what is going on right now? Oh man, it just looking at his history, Matt, lets me know I'm like, okay, he's gonna get out of this slump, but it can't be fun to go through for himself or as a fan to sit there and watch it. When you watch him miss the shots that you have grown accustomed to him making, but then at the same time, you've grown accustomed to him making like logo shots, like he's logo Lillard, you know what I'm saying, for a reason, man. And so for him to struggle like that, it's weird. You know what I'm saying? It's definitely weird and it's definitely strange. Now, like I said, I do believe he'll come out of it. I kind of hope he does not come out of it against the Chicago Bulls.
Right.
But I do believe he will. He is too excellent of a player. He is too excellent of a shooter. I like his mindset on it, Matt. He understands that he's going through a slump. He understands what the struggles are with him, but he's like, yeah, this kind of thing happens. You know what I mean? And I know I'll be out of it soon. And, you know, it's kind of how it goes. You've never really seen him struggle like this, though. So I understand that it could be alarming to fans. And it's like, oh, my God, what the hell is going on? And just imagine, because you're right, Matt. If you're putting yourself in the shoes of Bulls fans, look, Bulls fans was ready to bench Vooch after 2 games. That he was struggling. Two games, and that this dude struggled. They were ready to send him to the bench, and they were
People
already
out there were screaming, "Start Gafford!"
Right. Like, he's not on the team. Start him anyway. Put him out there. They were talking trades for Vooch, like, and all this after 2 games. Like, it was wild. So I can just imagine what it would be like here if Damian Lillard was going through that here. But I think the Portland fans, and he's so ingrained into the Portland community and the Portland culture, that they're going to ride with Damian Lillard, and they're going to be like, okay, dude, I know you'll get out of this soon.
Yeah. And, they have been kept afloat, not all the way afloat. They're currently 7-8 coming into tonight's game, which is 9th in conference, which is just packed with good teams. CJ McCollum's played well. Norman Powell has had a really strong start to the season. And let's talk about the other big piece for them for a second, Jusuf Nurkic, because, Bulls fans being always worried about lack of size. We saw the undersized Bulls hold Anthony Davis in check on Monday, aggravating him with their double teams, their pestering defense, not letting him getting into any kind of groove. And I was a little bit surprised when I went and looked at Nurkic's numbers out of the gate this season earlier today. He's averages just a shade over 7 shot attempts a game. He's averaging a double-double, but a Wendell double-double. I think he's got just a shade over 10 points per game and 11 boards. And you're like, oh, double-double, hooray. I mean, what do you see Billy trying to do? Do you think we're going to see plenty of Derrick Jones Jr. at the 5? Do you think we're going to see plenty of Bradley tonight? How do you think Billy's going to try to prevent Nurkic from having, a breakout game? Because he has not really been that heavily involved in their offense.
Right. I think you're going to continue to see Tony Bradley and in that starting lineup continuing to try to frustrate guys like Nurkic, because you're right, Matt, 7 shots a game is a little really? Because Nurkic is good. Nurkic can score. He can put the ball into the bucket. He's really good at that. But I don't know if having Larry Nance Jr. there and those things like that, maybe, changing some things for them and stuff like that. But who knows? Larry Nance Jr. also playing well. We thought he would when he went there. We thought Larry Nance Jr. would be good. But, yeah, I think you'll continue to see Bradley there. You'll definitely see that small ball lineup. Part of me thinks, man, and I could be wrong, but part of me just thinks Marco is going to get some run. I don't know why. This is based on nothing. Honestly, this is based on absolutely nothing, but just a feeling. He might get 2 minutes out there just to see I don't know why. It just feels like that to me. I don't know why, but maybe because they're big too. Because remember, Portland is not small either. Portland has size on their team, man, at that 4 and that 5. Okay. But as far as your question, man, yeah, I think you're going to definitely see a heavy dose of Tony Bradley against Nurkic out there. And you might get a chance to see Derrick Jones Jr. But the difference with Nurkic and the difference with Anthony Davis is a little more finesse than Nurkic. Nurkic has a little more punch you, kind of a little more like what Zubac had. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
A little more aggression. You know what I'm saying? Like that. Not saying Anthony Davis can't have that, but he more likes, he's more finesse and smooth. You know what I'm saying? With his. Nurkic can be that, but Nurkic definitely has a little more aggression with that, which is why I think you'll see a little more Tony Bradley if he's playing up to that level. Because like we said, Billy Donovan's not beholden to nothing. So if he's struggling, Billy Donovan will send the hive out there, and they will come out there and they will swarm all over Nurkic, man.
Maybe a little bit under the radar compared to the Lakers game where you got DeMar's revenge from getting spurned in free agency, Caruso's revenge for, again, getting spurned and not getting an offer from the Lakers, even, when he came to them, was willing to take a pay cut. Lonzo, revenge for the trade. Derrick Jones Jr., do we perhaps see a monstrous Derrick Jones Jr. game tonight? Maybe a couple of facials? Because, hey, Portland, I was surprised. I thought that Derrick Jones Jr. was a really good fit with that Blazers team. And I don't know why they didn't use him more than they did. But maybe, it was part of a 3-team trade. Okay, you get sent over to Chicago. Nance gets sent away from Cleveland. Cavs get Lowry. Kind of just a under-the-radar trade across the board. But I don't know. Maybe Derrick Jones Jr. has a little fire under his butt going back to Portland for this game tonight. Speaking of going to Portland, Big Dave, I mentioned the Blazers are 7-8 on the season. They are 6-1 at home, however. 6-1. They are an entirely different team playing at home out of the gate this season. And here's some crazy numbers for you. The Blazers have the 28th ranked defense in the NBA through the first 15 games of their season. When they play at home, they have the 9th best defense in the league.
Wow.
Like, I don't know how that works. When they play on the road, they have like the 39th ranked defense. There are G League teams who play better defense than the Blazers do when they're. I don't know how that works, but they have the 9th ranked defense, the 2nd ranked offense, and the 3rd best net rating in the NBA when they are protecting their home floor.
That's so interesting. Wow, that is so incredibly interesting. And Portland, Matt, has been a team the Bulls have over the years have kind of struggled. Portland and Denver, honestly, have been those two teams the Bulls have kind of struggled against. I've always considered them those trap games when we go play Portland and when we go play Denver. And this has the makings for it because the Bulls coming off of that high of getting those 2 huge wins in LA, then coming to Portland. And like you said, Portland is reeling. Dame isn't playing well. Nurkic 7 shots a game. But they're awesome at home, as Matt just read you the stats. They're amazing at home. So it has all the symptoms of a trap game for the Chicago Bulls. I'm going to be interested to watch with Billy Donovan because I think he's going to be extremely key in his rotations and how he coaches tonight up against Chauncey Billups. It's going to be extremely key on how he does his thing like that tonight because it has the makings for it, man. I'm serious. Like, it really does have those makings for that kind of trap game, man. But let's see how the Bulls respond because I would like to get one important, at least one more of these wins. I mean, of course, I want both of them, but I would like to get one more of these wins against this team, man, to just come back from this West Coast trip feeling extra good. You know what I'm saying? Knowing we did something without our elite center.
Right.
And, without our starting power forward, knowing we did something that nobody really thought they would do.
If you come back from this West Coast trip at least 3-2, knowing you're missing the pieces that you're missing, you have to feel good about that. One last thought I have as far as how I would like to see the Bulls approach this game tonight is we have seen, and we saw maybe a little bit of a bump in it against the Lakers, Billy Donovan doing some 2-man screen game between DeMar and Zach LaVine. And I like that. And I'd like to see more of that. And if it's a way to and I think maybe another way that you can prevent that breakout game from Dame is running him ragged on the defensive end, exposing him on the defensive end. And if you can get some mismatches with those, guard screens that Billy Donovan's been running, and you get opportunities for Zach to use his size on Dame, for DeMar to use his size on Dame, my guess would be that they start out with hiding Dame on Caruso, assuming Caruso starts again. Maybe they have Dame on Lonzo. I'm not sure. But try and get mismatches where you're forcing Dame onto switches where he has to try and stop DeMar or Zach at ISO. And to me, that should be Billy's point of attack offensively tonight.
That's a great point, Matt. And also, I think the emphasis should be put on CJ McCollum because CJ McCollum has been the Bulls' killer when we played them. It hasn't been Dame that's destroyed the Bulls. It's been CJ McCollum. He's been absolutely amazing when he plays against the Bulls. So whoever they want to, as far as Lonzo or Caruso, whichever one they want to go with as far as taking the most time against CJ McCollum, they have to focus in on him. And don't rely on the fact that Dame is in a slump. Obviously, don't rely on him. But I'm just telling you who has been the killer against the Chicago Bulls, and it's been McCollum. So you got to focus in on that. Hopefully we see Caruso in that starting lineup again. So we could see that combination happening, having your 2 best defenders guarding against their 2 best players who are both in the backcourt. And we'll see how that pans out, man. So, yeah, I'm definitely looking at that matchup of whoever they decide to go with on CJ McCollum.
And hopefully the Bulls could keep up that defensive intensity that they showed in both of those games in LA. Despite his lack of, shooting prowess to start the season, this horrible shooting slump, Dame is averaging a career best 8.1 assists per game out of the gate so far for the Blazers. So you can assume that he is going to try to not only get his looks, but get looks for CJ and all of his teammates out there. Bulls got to keep those hands active in those passing lanes, and maybe we'll see some traps, but when you got Dame and CJ, I don't know how much double teaming you could really do. So that's it for today. Enjoy Bulls Blazers tonight. Hopefully we're talking about another W on tomorrow's episode. In the meantime, you can hit us up on Twitter at Bulls_Peck, at BAWL Sports, and Locked on Bulls. You can also hit us up on our text and voicemail line, 331-979-1369. Whew. I'm ready. Are you ready? Bulls Blazers.
Ready, Matt. Let's go. Last one, baby. Last one.
Go. Last 9 p.m. tip off. We'll talk to y'all tomorrow with a fresh episode of Locked On Bulls. For Dave, I'm Matt. See Red. Be good. Peace out.